Let me say what a great honour it is to be here with my colleagues both here and in St. Lucia, to have this opportunity, of course, to present my credentials to you in the presence of so many other distinguished guests. But most of all, I think, Director General, an opportunity to reaffirm the United Kingdom's valued relationship with the Organisation of Eastern Caribbean States. It's a relationship which is strong and enduring, a relationship that we enjoy, of course, both with the OECS as an organisation, as well as with your member states. These are relationships that are, of course, important at the government-to-government level, the institutional level, but they're relationships which are firmly rooted in the connections between our people through our diaspora communities, all of the exchanges around education, business, culture, sport, so many ways. And as the UK ambassador to the OECS, I will do my utmost to strengthen and develop those relationships further in the years ahead. I've now been here in Barbados for just over a year, and during that time I've had the great pleasure of visiting all 6 of the OECS countries to which I am a High Commissioner. I've been to a number of them more than once. I won't tell you which ones I've been to and which ones I've yet to get back to a second time, but I'm keen to keep traveling. I'm keen to keep getting around the region, understanding these very special but very distinct island states, and understanding what the relationship really means between our country and these countries, so that we can find new ways to do new things together. I'm glad, Director General, that you and I have been able to meet in person already when I was in St. Lucia last year. And I did also just want to say how grateful I am, my team is, for the very strong, positive, constructive engagement that we have all enjoyed with you and your colleagues over recent years. I wanted to say something particularly about small island developing states this morning, and about the UK's relationship with small island developing states, and the priority that we attach to championing the very unique position of small island developing states globally, of course, but from my perspective and the perspective of my team, particularly here in the Caribbean, directly supporting the sustainable economic growth that small island developing states here need if they are to be more resilient, more prosperous, and indeed more secure. The vulnerability, the multidimensional vulnerabilities facing small island developing states, facing your members, is clear, but it's complicated. We have, as a country, as a government, we have put very high on our agenda the particular challenge facing small island developing states from climate change. You are on the front line of a crisis which we know you did not create. And we, through our presidency of COP26, have sought, with some success, I hope you'll agree, to ensure that that is understood and that the particular situation facing states in the context of climate change is one that is recognised for being urgent and vitally important to address. I know too that it's not just climate change which has been a challenge. We've all been dealing with the impact of COVID-19, of course, in recent years, but for small island economies, many of which are very reliant on tourism, of course, the economic impact of COVID-19, as well as the public health impact, the economic impact has been particularly profound. And now, of course, we find ourselves dealing with a new crisis following Russia's illegal and brutal invasion of Ukraine, which has, of course, not just had devastating impacts for that region, for the people of that region, but has had very significant economic impacts the world over. And I did want to particularly recognise the way that the Organisation of Eastern Caribbean States had spoken so clearly, in adding its voice in condemning the action of Russia, particularly through the statement that was issued on the 26th of February. I know that the conflict in Ukraine can seem like an ocean and a continent away, but the impact, the effects of Russia's action in Ukraine are having very real effects here, whether it's through cost of energy, food, agriculture, cultural inputs. All of these things are having a very significant implication for people seeking to live their lives. And I know that the whole world is seized of this. The UN Secretary General is very much focused on this. There are discussions taking place this week in Davos, the Economic Forum, of course. And it's important that we all continue to speak out to ensure that that unity of resolve and purpose is well understood, and our solidarity with the people of Ukraine is known and felt. The other challenges, of course, have not gone away, and climate change is a challenge which is both urgent and immediate, but also has very long-term implications for the future of this region. And I'm pleased to say that the UK and the OECS have been partners in many areas over the years, but climate change has absolutely been front and centre of our cooperation with you. The consequences for small island states here in the Caribbean as elsewhere are quite simply existential. And thanks to the leadership and far-sighted and ambitious action of the OECS and your member states, that is understood loud and clear internationally. You have lent your voice to that moral argument which has had such influence across the globe, but you've also underpinned that with technical leadership, which has not just diagnosed the problem, it focuses very clearly on the solution. And I, again, how proud we are to have been your partner in so much of that. I know that the role that the OECS played in Glasgow at COP26 was very warmly appreciated and made a really fundamental contribution to achieving the Glasgow Climate Pact, an outcome which will at least keep that goal of 1.5 degrees global average temperature rise, keeps it alive. There's more to be done, of course, but that goal remains something that we can all strive to achieve. We are continuing to drive forward the outcomes from Glasgow, of course, and particularly we're focusing on issues around access to finance. And I know this is an issue which your member states say time and again is vitally important to them. We know that, we hear that. We want to amplify their voice and lend our support in every international forum where it's where it will have some impact. We've got to emphasize that we must act now if we're going to address this. I mentioned COVID-19 already. I know that since we spoke last year in July, we've seen waves of cases across this region. I think we can all perhaps just allow ourselves a degree of cautious optimism that we're now in a better place and things are beginning to return to normality. But of course, we cannot drop our guard. And the variable vaccination rates across this region, of course, mean that the risk is differential in different parts of the region. We've got to keep working together on that. And we I hope have played some part in the region's resilience on that, particularly through our support for COVAX, but also through bilateral vaccine donations of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine made available to the ODA eligible countries across the Eastern Caribbean. More broadly, I did want to say something about our ongoing development priorities across this region. As the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, the D for development is firmly in the FCDO's title. It's an inherent part of our identity as an organization. And when I say development, I definitely mean development, not just aid. That's very much at the heart of how we work now globally as an organization. Is particularly at the heart of what we do here in the Caribbean. And across the Caribbean, we have a development portfolio that's worth about £450 million, focused on the 7 ODA eligible Caribbean Commonwealth countries, of course, including those in the OECS. And although Antigua and Barbuda has now graduated from ODA eligibility, we're continuing our existing support in that country as well. I'm very conscious, we're very alive to those voices which call for a new look, a fresh look at those eligibility criteria. And that's something that we as a government agree with very much. It's important that we have an approach which properly recognises the challenges, the vulnerabilities that small island developing states face. And again, we're championing those arguments on the world stage. Our cooperation programs, development programs across this region respond to regional and country challenges and needs with which you'll be very familiar. But I did just want to mention the breadth of our engagement on this agenda. We work on economic development, of course, including issues of gender and inclusion. We work on climate change, as I've mentioned, including on renewable energy and disaster risk reduction and resilience. We have a very significant portfolio of infrastructure investment across the Caribbean through our UK Caribbean Infrastructure Fund. That infrastructure that we're building across the Caribbean is climate resilient and also has a strong social development component to it as well. We're working on issues around criminal justice reform, including on capacity for legislative drafting, sentencing guidelines. We do a lot of work across the region around serious organized crime, border management and security. We also are seeking to enhance our shared prosperity, strengthening the private sector in the countries of this region and its potential to trade, and then seeking and pursuing opportunities for UK companies to trade and invest in this region so that it enhances our common prosperity. We are also finally very focused on issues around governance and the rule of law across the region. In many of these areas, our work is not always as widely known as I would like it to be, because we deliver very often through partner organizations, whether that's the Caribbean Development Bank, the World Bank, PAHO, or other organizations. And I think it's important that we ensure that our contribution is known, is understood, because it's a very clear demonstration of our commitment to this region, to the future prosperity, security of the region, and frankly of the friendship and partnership between my country and the countries of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. I did just want to sort of finish on that theme, really, Director General, colleagues, by saying that the partnership, the friendship between my country and the countries that you represent is a strong partnership. It's an important partnership, but we must take nothing for granted. We must challenge ourselves to renew and reinvigorate that relationship, to make sure it's relevant to the challenges of today, to forge a dynamic, modern partnership that really delivers for our shared priorities and addresses our shared challenges. There is, I think, an outstanding invitation, very generous invitation from yourselves for us to discuss with you the OECS strategic plan for 2022-2026. And I look forward to taking up that opportunity so that we can talk to you as well about our own priorities, particularly in light of the publication just last week of the United Kingdom's new international development strategy, which really sets out our global vision and contains more details on some of the areas to which I've already referred. I believe very strongly that it gives us real scope for further collaboration, for sharing our ideas with you and your ideas with us, and doing more together in so many ways and on so many levels. So in that spirit, Director General, I am delighted to have this opportunity to present my credentials to you this morning, to reaffirm the partnership between your organisation and my government, but also to say how much I and my colleagues look forward to working with you and your colleagues in the months and years ahead to put all of this into practice, to do more together, to challenge ourselves, to find new ways to collaborate, to work in partnership, address the challenges we see in the world around us, and to really seize the many opportunities that exist for us to take things to new heights. So thank you again. It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Excellency, it is with great pleasure that I accept from you today your letter accrediting you as the Ambassador of the United Kingdom to the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Your accreditation provides member states of our organization an additional opportunity beyond the bilateral and multilateral levels to further strengthen the exceptionally close relations which exist between the United Kingdom and our region. I'm extremely pleased with the good relations and strong bonds of friendship between the United Kingdom and the OECS. And I would like to assure you of my personal commitment to intensify these relations which were formalized 12 years ago. High Commissioner, your assignment as the Ambassador of the United Kingdom comes at a time of significant challenge for us all. Internationally, our planet is in crisis. Climatic, pandemic to endemic, disasters, political turmoil, the rise of ethnic and racial antagonism, and the resurgence of authoritarian governance. Each crisis compounds another, making the pain exponential to those on the receiving end. As the Guyanese poet Martin Carter asserted, all are involved, all are consumed. For us in the OECS as small island developing states, the challenges are of an inverse order of magnitude to our size. The threat to lives and livelihoods in SIDS are consequentially of a more elemental intensity. But all is not gloom and doom. From a contentious past, we have forged a more congenial present. The relations between the OECS, its member states, and the UK are reflective of this historical paradigm shift. The multifaceted and textured nature of our friendship is mirrored in historical and cultural affinities and close political and economic ties, among others. Further, in the face of an ever-changing global environment, we have consolidated a reliable and abiding friendship that has spanned decades of diplomatic relations. The 6 independent protocol member states of the OECS are all members of the British Commonwealth, and 3 of our associate members are British overseas territories. The remaining 2 associates are French départements. Britain is home to a significant OECS diaspora, while an appreciable number of British citizens either reside or own businesses and properties in the Eastern Caribbean. It must also be mentioned that the United Kingdom is a key tourism source market for our member states, which rely heavily on tourism. In fact, several of our member states are among the most tourism-dependent economies in the world, this being their main source of revenue and employment for the region. In 2010, formal diplomatic relations between the OECS and the United Kingdom were established, signaling the interest of the UK to explore further the potential for cooperation with the OECS and to strengthen its relations with the region. Since the establishment of formal relations, some constructive cooperation initiatives, as you have pointed out, have been undertaken. Over the past decade, the region has benefited from the diversity of its cooperation and collaboration with the UK. Through the Department of International Development, then DFID, the region received assistance in vital areas including climate change, adaptation, crime prevention, and criminal justice. During the period 2011 to 2015, OECS member states benefited from a package of assistance valued at £75 million, which funded the implementation of regional programs to help Caribbean countries reduce the risk from climate change and natural disasters. In 2017 to 18, the UK government supported the formulation of an Eastern Caribbean Regional Climate Change Implementation Plan. In 2021, the UK government supported a project entitled Sensitization and Awareness Raising on Electric Mobility in the OECS. The outputs included a baseline assessment report, an e-mobility toolkit for decision makers, and a virtual regional validation workshop. In 2022, the UK government approved £40,000 to support communication and awareness under the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. In 2021, the UK Prime Minister announced £40 million in overseas aid funding for the SIDS Capacity and Resilience Program, SIDA, which will support capacity building for SIDS to access funding and technical solutions at scale. A portion of this will be spent in the Caribbean over the next 5 years. A concept note has been shared with the UK in this regard, and it is hoped that the OECS will have an opportunity to participate in the SIDA program. Excellency, The success of our collaboration speaks volumes of the productive relationship which has been developed. We are particularly appreciative of the fact that these areas of assistance and support have indeed contributed to the sustainable development of our region. The OECS Commission has been engaged in developing plans for a regional response to major development challenges likely to face member states in a post-pandemic world, particularly in the areas of climate change, health, and digitization, simply to name a few. In this regard, a 6-year strategic development plan, which spans the period 2021 to 2027, has been finalized following a rigorous consultative process involving relevant actors within member states. The strategic plan incorporates priority areas for development in a changing environment, the mandates of the revised Treaty of Bastille, establishing the OECS Economic Union, and the approaches which must be implemented so that stipulated objectives can be achieved. It is envisaged that the process will ultimately lead to the actualization of our vision for a better quality of life for the people of the OECS region. On this matter, Excellency, the Commission has begun the conversation with development partners and other stakeholders to discuss methods by which collaboration and cooperation initiatives with the organization can be tailored to support achievement of the objectives of the OECS 6-year strategic plan. Excellency, I look forward to engaging in discussions with you shortly on this and other matters of mutual interest. As you assume your new assignment, I extend very best wishes for success and assure you once again of my full support and that of the staff of the OECS Commission during your tenure. Welcome to the OECS.